Alright, so we're going to continue in Tehilim, Perek Nun Chet and Nun Tet, chapter 58 and 59. Not so long, so we can do both of them. Just want to give a brief introduction. I think sometimes it's necessary, especially for those who are just joining now, to get a little bit of an idea of what Tehilim is all about. It's a very important book. It's a very powerful book that was composed by David HaMelech for the most part, divinely inspired. And it's not just about his experiences, it's not just about composing songs in praise to Hashem for everything that happens. What people sometimes forget is a very important saying by the rabbis, Ma'aseh avot siman labanim. What happened to our forefathers is a signal or an indication of what the future portends. So if you look at the lives of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, you look at the life of Yosef especially, you can see a reflection of what will happen to the Jewish people. So what happens to David HaMelech is not just personal experiences, it's also a reflection of what will happen in the future to the Jewish people. What he does and how he reacts is important for us to know, because this is what we should follow. Prayer is an important and powerful tool. We should never forget about that. Hashem wants that connection, and sometimes he holds something back from us. Sometimes we go through difficult challenges, struggles, and all that it will take is prayer. If it's sincere, that may do it. As the Midrash says, Shatfilah osam mehtzeh. Prayer can do half the job. You still have to make an effort, perhaps. You have to perhaps hire an attorney. Sometimes, we have no choice. But the prayer will do half the job. That can accomplish a great deal. And this is significant for us to know because many, many times it will appear that he repeats himself. He's not repeating himself so much. He's actually pointing out different areas in his life, different experiences, weaknesses, different kinds of weaknesses that human beings have that are eternal weaknesses. In other words, you will see them not just in the history, in the past, you will see it in the present. Weaknesses that human beings have always demonstrated, whether it's Lashon Hara, the urge to gossip or to slander, to talk negatively about others, revenge, to kill, whether it's ta'avot, all kinds of desires that people have. And look at what you hear today in the news. So many politicians, so many people who were previously admired or looked up to, successful, look how they're being caught doing the worst kinds of things that you would never imagine. What is this? It's human beings who have no control and no discipline or no God in their life. And even those who do have a God in their life doesn't mean that they do what is right. People have an evil inclination and sometimes they succumb and they fall. You can have marriages that start off very good, but if they were not married for the real reasons, people are selfish by nature. Things can break down, things can go wrong, mistakes happen. And David HaMelech covers a gamut of situations, of real life experiences. I also recommend, besides learning in-depth Tehilim, Mishlei, Kohelet, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, written by his son, Shlomo HaMelech, which there are lectures that I've given years ago. And Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, tremendous experience from the sages, from our forefathers, that really help us prepare ourselves better for life, how to handle situations, how to handle difficult people. Unfortunately, we can't trust everyone. David HaMelech goes through this. His best friends, who he thought were his closest friends, turned against him. Now what do? Do you take revenge? No. So certain things are clearly emphasized in this Sefer, a very important book called Tehilim, where he thanks Hashem, does not take credit himself that it was through my intelligence I was able to trick them and I was able to get away from them. That's what sometimes people may think. Israel has the greatest and best army, and that is what they want. No, it has nothing to do with that. Never say, never say or take credit that as a result of your strength, your prowess, your intelligence, you were successful. Regardless of the undertaking, whether it's in business or at war, it's Hashem. Hashem makes these things happen. We have free will in the area of how we behave, whether we have the fear of God or not, whether we perform a mitzvah or not. commit a sin or transgression and so forth. But general world events, and whether people affect our life in a positive or negative way, it's not really up to us. We can earn ourselves a good name, of course. We can do our best to get along with people, but you will always have people who are jealous of you. You can't escape that. You can't live in a cave. You're exposed to people, and you have to know how to best deal with them. So David HaMelech helps us understand exactly what he did, how he confronted these situations, and he's never really asking for revenge, so don't make that mistake when you see certain verses that appear to be, that he's praying that they should have a downfall. He wants the name of Hashem to be sanctified. He wants the world to realize Yesh Din veYesh Dayan, there's a judge, the people are accountable for their actions. This is important. There should be no Chilul Hashem. Hashem's name should not be desecrated. See, he was righteous, and look how he's suffering. What did he do wrong? And we know him ever since he was a little child. He didn't do anything wrong. So it's not like he may have done something. How do you explain this? Many things are concealed from us. The Torah says clearly, many things are concealed. The majority of things that Hashem put into this world, into our life, is concealed. We know very little about life. And life is short. So even if we were to live 1,000 years, we would not know everything there is to know. So Baruch Hashem, thank God that we have a little bit of information in the Torah and in other books that shed some light as to why certain events happen. David HaMelech suffers a lot, much more than the average person, which is why I began with the saying that Maseh Avot Siman Badim. Even though that's saying that what happened to our forefathers will happen to us, which means, by the way, two things. The good that they did, how they acted, should be a lesson for us. That is one way of interpreting Maseh Avot Siman Badim. And the second interpretation is what actually happened in their life should be an indicator of what will happen with the Jewish people. What you happened to Yosef is exactly what has happened to the Jewish people, being sold as a slave, right? Conspiring against him, landing in jail, and eventually rising to a position of command in Egypt. So even though things appear to be bad, eventually they will be good too. So there's a lot of optimism because of that. Whatever happened to our forefathers in the past is what will happen to us in the future. So we're awaiting Mashiach. We're awaiting the good days after such a long exile. And a lot of what David HaMelech expresses is optimism or encouragement, in reminding us that even though things appear very bleak right now, eventually, God willing, they will turn out for our benefit. We will see with our own eyes. So chapter 58 begins as follows. The Segulah, by the way, the special power that every chapter has in Tehilim, this one is, you'll be surprised, if you're being attacked by a wild dog and you don't want him to hurt you, you can say this. The thing is that by the time you finish it, you might be in trouble. The point is that this is a helpful chapter in dealing with wild dogs and wild animals. Somehow these words have that koach, that power.
Just for the dog or for all animals?
Well, mostly it says for dogs. It says for dogs, but there may be an additional segula. That is the one that I found for this chapter 58. It is unique for a wild dog that should not hurt him. Obviously, even if you said the portion of it, it would be helpful too. So, Lamnasecha Tashchet le David Michtam, you're finding here the word Tashchet as we've seen before and in chapter 59 as well, that this composition for the conductor is a plea. David HaMelech is pleading to be spared destruction. But it's not just that he doesn't want to be destroyed, that he doesn't want to fail, be hurt. He's also asking not to hurt others. As I explained last week with Yaakov, he doesn't want to be killed by Esav, neither does he want to kill his own brother. He doesn't want to kill Shaul, and he had the opportunities to do so. So he's focused on this chapter a little bit more about his experience with Shaul HaMelech, the king, who after a while, even though he was a righteous individual, he somehow lost it, as they say in English. There was some evil spirit that took control over him, and he pursued David. He wanted to kill David, which really doesn't make so much sense. Shaul HaMelech was a pious individual, clean of any sin. So we don't really understand how or why it happened. All we know is that the rabbis tell us it has something to do with the fact that he did not do as God instructed him to do with Amalek, to destroy Amalek. So he made a very big mistake, and as a result of that, his connection to Hashem became weaker. Once that happens, there's all kinds of evil forces that can take over and misguide one. And that's what happened to Shaul HaMelech. He was misguided in some ways, in that he was chasing after David, who is going to be the next king regardless of what you try to do to him. So in this particular chapter, his emphasis is not only on Shaul, but also on Avner. Remember, Shaul also had advisors, and the advisors were also bad. You know, sometimes the president, for example, may be okay, but the advisors are no good. And if he follows their advice, he's going to make terrible mistakes. And here, David is complaining to Avner, in a sense. Avner, you were very mistaken in your impression of me and what you told Shaul. You were thinking that if I would kill Shaul when I had the opportunity, but I hesitated, was only because I knew, right, that if I would be caught, somehow I would be killed. In other words, had I killed Shaul HaMelech, I would have been eventually caught and killed as a result of that, cut up to pieces. But that's not true. I did not hesitate because of that. I did not have that fear because of that. When I had the chance, I didn't do it. You know, I had a really easy chance to do it, and still I refused. I took, and I have in my hand, his spear and his flask. He took some items from Shaul when he came close to him while they were asleep. So it's not because I hesitated and you didn't see me, and I approached him. I actually could have done it. And look, this is what I took. So why did you judge me in such a way? Why did you tell Shaul HaMelech, what you said about me? What you said was completely wrong. What you said was Lashon Hara. So at that point, when Avner heard the rebuke, he was mute, he was silenced. In other words, you could have given me the benefit of the doubt, as people should do, instead of saying Lashon Hara, negative talk about others. Don't assume the worst. Judge him favorably. Perhaps you're wrong, you're mistaken, the impression that you have. You didn't do that. And that's what he describes here in verse 2, Pasuk Bet. Ha'omnam elem, tzedek tedaberu, mesharim tishpetu bnei adam. Is it true that you are mute? Instead of speaking justice, in other words, why can't you talk? He's mute because he has nothing to say. A lot of times people make a mistake. They only realize it later. And the reason why they can't respond back is because they realize they were wrong. So is it true that you are mute? In other words, you got my point, you learned your lesson. Instead of speaking justice, which you could have easily done, giving me the benefit of the doubt, said the truth, you could have made a difference. Mesharim tishpetu bnei adam. Instead of judging men with fairness, you acted in a very unfair way. So he is rebuking Avner for what he could have done. You had the potential to do otherwise. Somehow, you chose to do the worst possible thing. And he's going to talk about this characteristic of sometimes people, for some reason, choose to do only what is wrong. It's not that they sometimes are fair and sometimes good. It's always, for some reason, the wrong decision, the bad decision. And he continues on to say, "Av belev olot tif'alun ba'aretz hamas yedechem tifalesu." Even within your heart, you wreak injustice upon the land. You justify the violence of your hands. Tefallesun is like to lead or to justify. In other words, you pursue this particular path of injustice. What is he saying here? There are certain individuals who by nature almost, that is what they choose. They're evil. It's not always politics. Sometimes it is. Politics. Cheshbonot, as we say in Hebrew. People have some sort of benefit at stake. In other words, they want to do something, they want to accomplish something, they want to get ahead. And because of that, they do certain things that may be wrong. Here he sees a certain pattern that is apparent to him, that is, as he's going to say in the next verse, is from birth. You've always been like that. In other words, if I were to describe you psychologically, if I can explain what you've done and what you're after, you're an evil person through and through, from the very, very start. As he says in verse Dalet, Pasuk Dalet, number 4, Zuru reshaim mirachem ta'u mibetin dovre chazav. The wicked are Zoro, either distant, estranged, from the womb, from birth. From birth do the speakers of falsehood stray, which is very interesting. We do have free will. So how is it that someone, from the time he's a baby, from the time he has just come out of the womb, stray, as though it's instinctive in him? It has to do with the parents a little bit. It has to do with the neshama, the soul, that they've brought into this world. Did the parents have holy and clean and pure thoughts during the time that they were together? And when the child was conceived or not? There are many stories of such individuals who turned out bad because their foundation, what the parents did to prepare them, to bring them down into this world, was not good. And that has a very bad influence over them. They still have free will. Remember, everybody has free will for certain things. But some people really have a challenge, because either the company that they're with, the teachers they had, the friends they had, or the parents, the home they grew up with, and including how did the conception come about, in purity or not. That is what, it gives them a very, very hard, difficult start. That's one of their struggles, a challenge to deal with a certain weakness. And there's all kinds of examples I can give you of people that are born in a certain way, that they have this tendency, I will only call it tendency, because they still have free will to control themselves, but they may have a tendency to anger. And this has to do with astrology too. This has to do with mazalot. Certain mazalot are prone, again, only prone. They're not forced or compelled. As the famous astrologer says, the stars impel, but they don't compel. Impel means that they have an influence. You're given a tool bag. This is your challenge. You're born like this. You're born in these circumstances, but you can overcome that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. We're not robots. You know, we do have free will, but it could be tough. Somebody has a very difficult marriage. That may be his challenge. So hopefully he will have the patience and the understanding, and he will seek help, and he may be able to get along after all, resolve some of the problems. He may not, but at least he tried. There are too many people that don't try, and they try to and they just run away. And that's part of the problem. Don't run away from a problem. A problem is there to be solved. A challenge is there to be overcome. That's what challenges are for. David HaMelech goes through this, very, very difficult challenges. So here, David HaMelech is mostly complaining about the fact that they did not give him any benefit of the doubt. On the contrary, instead of following what the Torah dictates, tzedek, tzedek tirdov, that you should pursue justice, they didn't even give justice a chance. They immediately judged him guilty. For what? As he complains later on, did I harm you? Did I do anything against you? Remember, he has no complaints to Hashem. Never, never complain. I don't deserve this, because we don't know what we deserve or not. So he's not complaining to Hashem. He may be complaining to them. What did I do to you to deserve this kind of treatment? So all these lies and all this injustice, he's saying, is coming from Rehem, from the womb. It's been there all along. You're steeped in injustice. This is your way of life. This is not political. This is the way you are. These are very harsh words against them, but that's what a rebuke is all about. Listen, what you're doing. He's talking to them. You know, you've been like that all the time, and that is how you are prepared to kill someone. If you think about it, to kill someone, it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of anger, it takes a very, very bad attitude. You know, one does not appreciate life, apparently, doesn't realize the value of life. Send him off to exile. No, he may come back. Who knows what they're thinking? When a person is evil, he thinks the worst. The worst possible scenarios. He wants to stay in power. He doesn't want anybody to get in his way. So, part of the reason why he describes it this way is because he's going to tell us soon that these people almost have no chance. Even if you rebuke them, they won't listen. That's why he's emphasizing this. You're so bad, because maybe nothing will help you. As he says in the next pasuk, Hamat lomo kidmut hamat nahash kemofet and cheresh yatem ozno. Some of these words, some of the pasukim, I admit, are a little bit difficult, but that's the beauty of learning it versus just reading it. Especially for those who don't understand the Hebrew, the biblical Hebrew language, you need to find a translation in the language that you understand. Otherwise, you won't be able to appreciate or follow what he's saying. So this is a good example, pasuk hey. Their hamat lamo is their venom, because he's going to compare them to a snake. The venom is like the venom of a snake. Kidmut hamat nachash. Kimofeten cheresh yatem ozno. Like the deaf viper. Beten is a viper. Type of snake. Yatem ozno, that closes his ear. This is a little bit cryptic, since one is a snake, deaf. Yatem ozno, it closes its ear. A snake, the rabbis tell us, will bite even though he may not have benefit from the bite. He can't eat you. We're not talking about an anaconda here, a big snake. We're talking about a snake that will bite, and if he has venom, that bite can kill. He's not in danger. You're not bothering him. You're not harassing him. Snakes, we know, are from Shamayim. If they're sent to hurt someone, they're from Shamayim. But the snake itself, if he were to do that, does not really gain anything from it. It's not that he wants to eat. A wild animal wants to eat, a predator. So you are like that snake. You have that venom in you. That you're deaf and you close your ear. So here, he's describing a situation where the individual who's slandering him, who is biting him, trying to poison him, has no real benefit directly himself. And he has a deaf ear because he's so bad and he's doing things without having a direct benefit from them. That means that he has very little chance of gaining from any rebuke. His ear is deaf. A snake being deaf, meaning that at a certain stage, it may not be able to hear. It may not be able to figure out what's going on, depending on the circumstances, and it just reacts by impulse. And that is what you're doing. You're not reflecting on it. A lot of people say things, do things impulsively without thinking too much about them. The problem is that some mistakes are very, very costly. You can't correct them easily. You hurt someone's feelings. Maybe, if you're lucky, you might be able to restore the relationship to what it was. But the feelings could be so hurt, especially if it was done repeatedly, that it's beyond repair. After 20 years of cursing at each other, yelling at each other, it may be really difficult to reconcile, to make peace. So he describes the situation that he's going through like poison. You know, once the poison gets into the body and it spreads, today we have antivenom, we have ways of stopping. A unless it's a very, very dangerous poison that within a few minutes, some poisonous snakes, within a few minutes of their bite, the person could be dead. You need immediate treatment. You need to know what snake it was to get the right antivenom. So that's what he's talking about over here, is that this is a situation where no matter what I say and what I do to you, it won't help. He continues on to say, and it's not just you, it's not individual enemies. Very interesting pasuk. In English, they don't hear me, as not to hear the voice of charmers, even the most skillful caster of spells. You know, with charmers of snakes, they sometimes charm them. If you've ever seen in India, they do that. And the snake just moves, but doesn't bite. It is charmed. So here, speaking to the judges who judged him negatively, he says, you don't even listen. You don't even listen to all those who perhaps have a different opinion. You're not willing to listen to them. A fair judge listens to both sides. But you're not interested in seeing what the other side has to say. Here, had he been given a fair chance, he's saying, had I really spoken or shared with the judges my side of the story, they would have at least heard a different point of view, and it would have been a little bit more balanced. But you were not even willing to do that. The judges acted on their own, did as they wished, and it was basically a done deal. And this happens today too. You can see it in politics, that sometimes the bias is so strong that they don't give you a chance. They're out to get you. It's clearly seen today in the politics of today in this country and in other countries. They've made up their mind. There's something that they want, and therefore they won't even consider giving you the benefit of the doubt. So, what do? Elohim haros shinemo befimo malteot kefirim netots Adonai. Smash their teeth. This is one of the pesukim that I think is a little bit funny, but you'll understand why he says that in a moment. Smash their teeth in their mouth, shatter the fangs of the young lion. Malteot are the fangs, the longer ones, the ones that really do a lot of damage. So he compares their malteot, their fangs, to the fangs of the young lions who are eager to grab, the meat. So shatter those fangs and smash their teeth. White fangs. So this is, again, in relation to the Lashon Hara, to the talking about him, to the saying the negative things about him. The fangs, of course, are the ones that tear and do more damage. So he's asking for that to be destroyed. At this point, he's not even asking for them to get killed. He doesn't want revenge. He shall kill them, eliminate them, destroy them. No, these are his brothers. He wants the Lashon Hara to stop. He wants the slander to stop. He wants a fair chance. So don't let their advice succeed. Don't let their information get through. That's all he's asking for. In other words, he wants to survive. Therefore, let them not succeed in what they're trying to do. What should happen to them? Next pasuk, Yima'asu kemo mayim mitaldechu lamo, yidroch hitzav kemo itmolalu. Some of these words are a little bit difficult, but once you get used to Tehilim, you should be able to figure out. Yima'asu kemo mayim, they should melt away like water. Like water disappears. Yitalechu lamo. Yidroch hitzav kemo itmolalu. As soon as they aim, yidroch, they aim the arrows, kemo itmolalu. Those arrows should crumble, should just fall apart. So this is all a continuation of the verse before. He's talking about the Lashon Hara, not about them. In other words, that it should go away. It should disappear. They should be not successful in what they do. But he's also implying here in midah keneged midah. he is implying, and he's done that several times, measure for measure, that here they're trying to slander him. So he's saying, let those people who were trying to influence Shaul through flattery, because this is some of the individuals who were causing her harm, let those individuals who were trying to convince or influence Shaul through flattery, let them disappear. Let their flattery fall flat. Let it like melt like water, like it never did anything. Plus, let them crumble. In other words, let it go after them. Let them, what does it mean after them? Let them see that their flattery will not work. You know how many times people flattered a king, people in power, and afterwards that same person in power came after them? They're being nice to him, they're flattering him, you're great. May you live forever, your highness. You know, supposedly, they're flattering. And in the end, they get hurt. And it was those arrows that they aimed at others will come after them. All that flattery will disappear. How will it disappear? When they see that individual who they flattered is no longer their friend. The next verse is very interesting too. This one is really difficult even for those who know Hebrew very well. Try to figure this one out. The word shablul is a snail or a slug. You know the difference between a snail and a slug? A snail has, usually depending on the snail, it has a shell. A slug does not have the shell. So he says, like a snail or like a slug, temes, like a snail that melts. Nefel eshet bal chazu shamesh, like the stillbirth of a woman. They never see the sun. So without being able to see any commentaries, it's really difficult to understand what he's saying. So I'm going to tell you briefly. A slug, a shabelul, temes, as it goes, it melts for the following reason. It has slime that it produces. If you've ever seen the slime of a snail, and that's important for it because it needs to survive. When there's not enough moisture, it could easily desiccate. Desiccate means to dry up and die. It could die very, very quickly. As it is, many, many snails, I don't know if the majority or not, depending on the type, they don't live longer than a year in the wild. Either they die on their own or because, other predators eat them. So here we were talking about a certain effect on them that can happen as a result of a lack of moisture. As it's walking, it can eventually dry up, it can eventually melt. That's one way of understanding the verse, temes. It was short-lived. It can die quickly. Same thing with nefel eshet bal chazu shamesh. Nefel eshet, according to some, it's talking about a stillborn child that never saw the sunlight. Or some say it's talking about a nashut, a mole, M-O-L-E, those animals that live underground. They cause a lot of damage to crops. They're almost blind, almost. They're not completely blind, but they see very, very, very little. They can detect light and darkness. That's basically it. They have very small eyes. So some say that's what eshet is. Either nefel or eshet, or both. Just like these barely see sunlight, just like the shablul doesn't live long. That is what he's wishing for their influence to happen, to not last long, to go away, to disappear, to fail. Same thing with the next verse. B'terem yavinu sirotechem atad kemochai kemocharon yisarenu. So sirotechem is talking about tender shoots when they're still young. Before the tender shoots know to become hardened thorns, atad are the thorns that are already hard. Kemochai kemocharon yisarenu. You will blast them away with vigor and anger or wrath. Charon is more like wrath. Yisarenu, like a storm. In other words, they won't last long. He's asking for whatever influence is out there that is negative, that is bad, to be short-lived. just that the way he describes it is very, very poetic and very beautiful, and obviously it has great significance. When something becomes a thorn, when something becomes mature and hardened, it's a lot more difficult to defeat. Let it be short-lived. Let it not take effect. Otherwise, the more and more people find out about it, the more of machloket, the more chilul Hashem, the more the desecration of Hashem's name, the more divisiveness, the more trouble. Let them not stay in power for so long. Let them fail right away. So this is a prayer of great need, because this is very harmful. The Lashon Hara is extremely harmful. It causes many families to break up. Families, brothers and sisters. So you want to put a stop to it. Here he's praying. The action that he's taking is maybe not helping you so much. That's all he has left, is prayer. But this does not mean that we should not take action. We have to do whatever we can. Always try to compromise. Don't go to court if you can avoid it. In other words, if there's any way to settle something in a fair way. Otherwise, it's destructive. So here, he has no choice but to turn to Hashem and ask him to get involved, to not let the situation get out of control. This is the verse I was telling you before. Don't think he's asking for revenge, even though he's saying that in different words. Let the righteous rejoice when he sees revenge, and he will bathe in the feet of the wicked. It sounds like he is asking for revenge. Very, very strong words. But remember what we said earlier, a lot of this has to do with the future. The rabbis tell us that this is insinuating Mordechai with Haman. That eventually, Mordechai saw in the downfall of his enemy Haman. So these things have happened in the past, and as he will explain soon, they're going to happen in the future. And let us be able to see it in our lifetime. What happens many times is that we have faith that this is what will happen to the wicked, but we don't necessarily see it. So it's very, very painful. Many people live their entire life just knowing that the enemy is in control and not seeing their downfall. You have to look at the history book. You have to look at 2,000-3,000 years at a time to be able to see, in retrospect now, what has happened to all the evildoers, to all the empires. Now, we're living in a time that we don't know, but we have a feeling because of the prophecies, we know what's going to happen next. But this is what's going to happen, that the wicked will fall. And the tzaddikim, the righteous, will see it. Will see the revenge. Revenge is not something good for human beings to do. The Torah says no, revenge. But Hashem's revenge is to settle the score. That's a big difference. To settle, you know what that means? To settle the score, to even things out. Otherwise, where's justice? And the attribute of Hashem is that He's just. That means that somehow, at some time, when Hashem decides, things have to be evened out. So David HaMelech is asking to see that too. Only for the sake of Kiddush Hashem. And that's the last verse of this chapter says. V'yomar Adam ach pri latzadik ach yesh Elohim shoftim ba'aretz. There is indeed reward for the righteous. Indeed, there is a God who judges in the land. Let them see that this is true. Not only that we believe it, do we claim it, let the people see in their lifetime that that guy deserved what is coming to him because he was evil. He hurt so many people through his Lashon Hara. He did this and he did that. Let the people, the victims, see that people are accountable for their actions in their lifetime. Let them not only find out the truth when they go upstairs. Everybody finds out the truth when we go upstairs. Let them see it here in this life as well. By the way, this happened to a lot of people. Besides Mordechai and Haman, the Midrash says that this is what happened to Esav when he was killed by the burial of Yaakov. At that time he was killed. Esav was killed. Moshe also wanted to see the revenge of Midian with the Midianites because of what they made the Jewish people stumble in sin. So there is a need to see Hashem avenging for all the wrongs that were committed by the bad people. All right, Perek Nun Tet, chapter 59. This one is a chapter that deals with the segula, that is, the power of the chapter is with the evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara. Some people have a very powerful Yetzer Hara. What do you do? So the rabbis tell us in the Gemara, go to the Bet Midrash, go to study Torah, cool off a little bit, take a cold shower, calm down. If that doesn't help, humble yourself by reminding yourself of the day of death. So there's a lot of advice, but sometimes all of that advice is not enough. So there are certain perakim in Tehilim that are very good for the Yetzer Hara. Prayer. Hashem, help me. This is a form of prayer that can help with the evil inclination. So this is also a michtam, just like in 58 was michtam, and michtam in the earlier chapters. Remember we said michtam, according to some, means a valuable, precious lesson. So that could be that this is what he's saying here too, that this is also a valuable lesson. Mishloach Shaul v'yishmeru tabayit la'mito. Here Shaul is sending messengers to kill David. But how does he do it? David is in the house of Shaul's daughter. She's supposed to be married to him, he's in his place at home. And she wants to save his life. And it's already nighttime. So he sent guards, wait there till the morning. And the Midrash says that what happened was that it was a whole plan that she put together that saved David by postponing or delaying the moment that they will enter and actually try to grab him. As the verses describe over there, if you look in the book of Shemuel, you will see that they came searching for him, and she said he was sick, and they waited for him. Shaul said, go grab him, even in his bed. And in the meantime, what she did was she put underneath his cover the shape of a human being. They were called trafim. Trafim, it was some sort of figure, a figurine that had the shape of a skull or a human body. And she put a pillow of goat's hair next to it to cover it up. So it should appear like David HaMelech is underneath the blanket. As some prisoners who have escaped prisons have done, just to delay the time they start searching for them. And she took him down from the back window during the nighttime. And this is how he actually escaped, because they were almost there to grab him. So she helped him out. That's the story there. So here, he's describing that incident. He's describing all the types of incidents that he has where he had been close to death in a dangerous situation, and Hashem saved him in all kinds of ways. So this is what he means here. When Shaul sent after him, Vayishmeru tabayit lamito, Shaul dispatched people, and they were guarding the house, waiting for him to kill him, to grab him. Hatzileni mo'evai Elohim mitkomemai tesageveni. Rescue me from my enemies, God, was my God, and raise me above those who rise against me. So he's describing two types of enemies. He has all kinds of enemies. As you will see in the next verse, we might as well read the next verse together. He's including Hatzileni mipoale aven, rescue me from evildoers, u'me'anshei damim oshieni, rescue me also or save me from men of bloodshed. So he's describing here people who are after him to assassinate him, killers. Those who are against him, those who are evildoers. Different kinds of people. Against him because they want to be in power. Evildoers because they're hired. Hired assassins, thirsty for shedding blood. All kinds of people. There are those who are afraid of him, that when he comes to power, he's going to punish them. That's the only reason they're against him. They know that he's going to be in power one day, and that he's going to take revenge from them. And this happens in real life too. You see it today. People are afraid. Oh no, I was against him, now he's going to be against me because now he's the boss. He won't promote me, or he will fire me, or worse, depending on if it's a democracy so-called or not, what that individual's powers are. So that's what he's describing here in praying and asking for Hashem's help, in sparing him from all those who stand up against him, all kinds of enemies or advisors. So, tesagiveni, rise me above them, support me, that they should not be successful. Help me out with all those who pursue me. Evildoers, men of bloodshed, all kinds of people, all kinds of individuals. Remember, he had his own son of Shalom go after him. He had friends, who used to be his friends, go after him. So when you read all of this, and it helps, of course, to know the story of David Melech from inside the prophets, from the Shemuel, you wonder, wow, he suffered so much in his 70 years of life. But remember what I said before, that's why I thought it was important to bring out the fact that Maaseh Avot Siman Labanim. I think, I haven't really seen everybody say it, maybe a little bit is said in more or less along those lines, that David Melech's life reflects the life of the Jewish people, like the forefathers' life reflects the life of the Jewish people. The events that occur in his life, the lessons to be learned, are very, very valuable. Otherwise, why would we have a book of Tehilim for? Just to praise and sing to Hashem. A lot of it is in our prayer book. A lot of it is what we say in the Siddur, a lot of Tehilim. So we should get trained to praise and give thanks to Hashem and recognize how great Hashem is to us, how kind He is to us. We don't even realize it. We don't take notice. We don't pay attention enough. Is it only when things are bad that we pay attention? Apparently, yeah, some people only pay attention when things are really tough. Then they start crying. Then they start calling. They call me too. I have an evil eye. Somebody put an evil eye on me. Really? Who told you it's an evil eye? Maybe you did something wrong. Why are you blaming the evil eye? You know, the first thing is to perhaps blame yourself. Maybe there's something that you're doing that is not right. And correct it. David Melech did think about that too. He understands it, and we've covered all that in the very beginning. In the very beginning, we've covered how he's sensitive to what happened with Bathsheba and to other situations. He takes the blame. He does the teshuvah. He repents. But what about these people here? Shaul, Avner, Achitofel, Doeg. Wow. These are great people, learned people. He feels bad for them too. כי הנה ערבו לנפשי יגורו עלי עזים, לא פשעי ולא חטאתי אדוני. They lie in ambush for my soul. Mighty ones gather against me, not because of my sin nor my transgression, O Lord. It's not because I did something against them. That's what it's important to keep in mind when you see this. Lo pishi lo chatati. Don't think he's saying here to Hashem, I didn't do anything against you. How do you know? You remember what you've done? I have everything documented and recorded what you did. So David HaMelech would never say that. It's for no sin on my part to you. For no sin on my part to them. What do they have against me? That they are ambushing me. All the azim, all the mighty ones. He's talking about the learned, the scholars, the great people, the judges. What do they have against me? Very important point he's saying here, however, that is very much missed by people. Why is he so concerned? Hashem takes care of the world, doesn't he? Why are you so concerned? You think they're going to hurt you? There's a difference between an animal that is pursuing you, a wild animal, a shark, a snake, a scorpion, tiger, lion, whatever, and a human being. The Kabbalah teaches, it's explained in the Zohar very much, that to be saved from a human being who's pointing a gun at you requires a lot more merits than to be saved from an animal. If you're a righteous individual, the animal won't hurt you. Daniel in the lion's den is an example. He was righteous. A lot of great rabbis were in a similar situation. In a lion's den. The lions, they were hungry. They didn't touch them. You have the image of God on you, the animals will treat you like a human being, not like another animal. They see you as another animal because, unfortunately, sometimes the human being acts like an animal. So they see him as an animal. Not if the human being has the image of God on him. But to be spared from a human being who has free will, Bal Bechira, you need a lot more merits. Somebody has a gun, carjack or something, don't take a chance. Because that is a dangerous situation. It's like a soldier going to war and there's a minefield. For him to be safe from the minefield requires a big miracle. Does he deserve a big miracle? He may die. Even though it was not decreed that he should die. He was supposed to live to the age of 82. Yeah, he's Mazal, 82. His genes are good, he eats well. He went to war. He stepped on a mine. Or there was a bullet run, that just came his way. Obviously, Shamayim, they allowed it to happen. Nothing happens unless Shamayim from heaven, they allow it. But it could be they didn't decree it to happen. It wasn't meant to happen. Just they allowed it because he doesn't have enough merits that we should perform a miracle, which is what's necessary to be saved from a human being. You need a miracle. And for a miracle, you need many merits. Don't take a chance with a human being. With an animal, if a person is just and right, nothing will happen to him. He doesn't have to fret. Now, don't harass the animal. Obviously, don't start up with the animal. But if you're just minding your business and you're a good, righteous individual, the animal won't hurt you. The animal's a messenger. Human beings, even though they can act as messengers, they have free will. And they can hurt. And they have hurt a lot of righteous people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not talking about here the Holocaust because that's a decree. Let's not mix up the things. Talk about thieves and the like who can harm people. And if a person doesn't have enough merits, that's what David HaMelech is concerned with. I didn't harm them, I didn't do anything against them, and I'm concerned because they have free will. Beli avon yerutzum v'yikonanu ora likrati urei. This is a continuation, without iniquity on my part. They run and prepare, awaken towards me and see. They're going after me even though I didn't do anything against them. And that's what bothers him very, very much. Things happen, people get hurt because of some sin, maybe in their actions. But here David HaMelech is saying, to them I didn't do anything. So what do they have against me? Him saying that is not only because he wants to be spared from a human being who has free will. Remember what we said earlier. He doesn't want there should be a Chilul Hashem. Why are these righteous people suffering so much? David HaMelech must be wicked. Imagine if that's what the people are going to have as an impression of him. It's wrong. It's a wrong impression. He's concerned for that too. ואתה אדוני אלוהים צבאות, אלוהי ישראל הקיצה לפקוד כל הגויים על תחון כל בגדי אבן סלע. Verse Vav. And you, Lord, Tzevakot is the God of hosts, God of Israel. Wake up to remember all the nations. Do not grant favor to any of the iniquitous traitors. So this is a verse that is already discussing the future as well. And it's a little bit strange because it's talking about Hashem awakening. Does Hashem sleep? No, Hashem doesn't sleep. Hashem doesn't have to awaken. But he sometimes gives the impression as though he doesn't want to get involved, as though he's not around. That's the meaning of Akitza. We're asking Hashem to awaken. Lifkod kol hagoyim, to remember all the nations, what they've done. So this will be in the future, that Hashem will awaken, will show the world, will reveal himself to all the nations of the world. The God of Israel. Al tachon kol bogdei av and sela, therefore do not grant favor to any of the iniquitous traitors. Don't give them a chance. Don't prolong their life. All right, next pasuk. Yashuvu la'erev yehemu hakalev yisorevu ir. Here he continues to describe a little bit of the actions of Shaul and his people, that they return towards evening and they howl like a dog and circle the city. They didn't give him a chance to rest. Day and night they were after him. When I was reading this pasuk, I recalled a little bit that some of the curses in the Torah, some of the kilalot, do bring to mind. There are times that the Jewish people were so pursued that they had no chance to rest. They were exiled from place to place. They feared at night for their life, even though things were calm, because they were in such a bad situation. During the Holocaust, they had to hide, and what does a person feel when he's hiding if the Nazi can come at any time and discover him? So this is the fear that David HaMelech went through day and night. They were coming after me like dogs, bark and come, looking for something, surrounding the city. הנה יביעון בפיהם חרבות בשפתותיהם כי מי שומע. They spew with their mouths, swords are in their lips, for they say, who hears? This is the problem of Lashon Hara. It's not just the harm that they do by speaking about others, it's that they say, who hears? You think he's listening? So they're basically denying Hashem's existence, Chas v'shalom. Mi shomeh? Don't you realize that he hears, he knows where it's coming from? How could you even dare do that? But that's what they exemplify, using their mouth as swords. This verse is also into the future. You, Lord, you laugh at them, you mock all nations. There will be a time like that. There will be tremendous laughter. Well, laughter meaning, on our part, it will be joy. We don't laugh at the downfall of the enemy. Laughter in Hashem's eyes. In other words, Hashem is going to say, you think you're getting away with it? You're going to see one day, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to reveal myself. As they say in English, he will have the last laugh. That is what David HaMelech is implying here. Only Hashem, only you, tischak lamo, not us. Til'ag lechol goyim. You will ridicule, or you will, I guess mock is another word, mock the nations for all the thoughts that they had and all the conspiracies and all the plots and all that they've done in the past. You have an accounting of everything. You will at some point handle it. So he's talking about the future in the same way that he's talking about the present. In the end, the evildoers will have their downfall, whether it's individuals or whether it's nations. Uzo elecha eshmora ki Elohim misgabi. Because of his might, I wait for you, for God is my stronghold. In other words, the only chance that I have, he's the all-powerful King, Shaul, is to turn to you. So I await for you. I await for your kindness, as he says in the next pasuk. What kind of kindness? Elohei chasdi yakademeni Elohim yar'eni b'shorerai. The God of my kindness will anticipate my need. God will show me the downfall of my watchful foes. So we explained the word shorerai last time. Those who watch, who are anticipating my downfall. Hashem, you anticipate that and anticipate me with your kindness. How do you anticipate with kindness? So there's another verse that says, Terem yikra'u v'ani ya'aneh. One of the highest levels of kindness from Hashem is that Hashem answers us before we turn to Him. Before we even have to utter a prayer to you, you already know our needs. That is the kind of kindness that I want to have from you. In the same way that they anticipate to cause me harm, they're always looking for a chance to go after me. Chasdi yekademeni. Please, show me your kindness in anticipating my needs, even before I even pray to you. Al tahargem pen yishkechu ami hani'emo bechelcha v'oridemo magineni Adonai. Do not kill them, he says. Lest my nation forget. Drive them about with your might and impoverish them. Or shield my master. Very important idea over here. You don't have to kill them. I want them to stick around, but I want them to lose their job. That's what I want. I want them to be fired. I want them to lose their influence. Why? Because if they get killed, what's going to happen a couple of years from now? People will forget. Let them see a living lesson. These people who were bad, who were evil, look what has happened to them. They lost their job. Look at them. They have been impoverished. Don't let my people forget, therefore don't kill them. Hani'emo bechelcha, oridemo. Drive them about and bring them down. You are our shield. In other words, we only rely on you. Only you can do that. Chatat pimo devar sefatemo v'yilachedu b'geonahu me'alam v'kacha shesaperu. Also a continuation of the same idea. The sin of their mouth, the word of their lips, let them be trapped by their arrogance. Let the people see what has happened to arrogant people. Let people see what these individuals brought about themselves through their arrogance or through the Lashon Hara that came out from their lips. Let the people learn from the mistakes of others. That's all he's asking for. Remember, he's not dealing here with just any enemy. He's also dealing here with people who were learned, bright, judges. He says, let the people see what happens to corrupt individuals, and that they should not make the mistake of thinking that they can get away with it. This verse is also talking about the future. Consume them in wrath. Kaleh means to consume, to finish. Consume them, and they will be no more, and they will know that the God rules in Jacob to the ends of the earth, Selah forever. Also a verse about the future, in a sense, in reminding us that everywhere, the whole earth will see that God rules over Yaakov, which means he's always been around. And those who oppressed us, those who wronged us, will be destroyed. So he's asking here about the future. He's asking for this to happen soon. He's asking it for the sake of Hashem. Going back to those dogs that he was saying that come and surround at night, they will return toward evening, they will howl like the dog and circle the city. This verse, even though it appears repetitious, it's more like a measure for measure. Let those same dogs that were barking to hurt, to search, to harm someone, let them now come back, circling the city for food, begging. They will wander about to eat, and they will not be sated, they will groan, they will complain. So here we're talking about a turn of events. The people who were once at the top will now be at the bottom, and people will be able to see that these great and powerful individuals are now begging. And this has happened. This has happened to the most richest who have lost their fortunes and who became beggars. So people don't learn enough. They don't read. This can happen to anyone. So David HaMelech again is asking for Hashem's name to be sanctified, for people to see and to learn, not as a personal vendetta against anyone here. As for me, he says, what will I gain from all of this? As for me, I will sing your might and sing joyously of your kindness towards morning, for you have been a stronghold to me, a refuge on the day of my distress. That's all he wants to do. In other words, not only does he want it, it's an obligation for an individual to express his thanks to Hashem for all that he has gone through, for all that he has witnessed, to sing and to praise to Hashem, for people to learn that Hashem is the one that protects us, and that he was there for me in my day of my distress, and he will be there for you in your day of your distress. Let Jews remember, basically saying, that throughout the diaspora, the exile, the long exile, Hashem has always been there for us. Anything that has happened, therefore, has not happened b'mikre, by chance or by accident. It was all mishamayim. Human beings nonetheless have free will. All the oppressors, even though I allowed them to imprison you, to exile you, and so forth, they will pay for it. They have free will. They can decide not to do it. Somebody else can do it. They don't have to be the ones to oppress. So I will therefore take the time, and towards the morning, which you could also say it's talking about when Mashiach comes, when it will be daylight, but David HaMelech stood up a good part of the night to sing, to thank Hashem, which is what people should do more, he says. You are my strength, to you I will sing, for God is my stronghold, the God of my kindness. This last pasuk, the rabbis tell us, is to remind us that all the Yeshuot, all the salvations and the miracles that we had in the past, beginning with Kriyat Yamsuf, with the parting of the Red Sea, and with the Makot in Egypt, all the Yeshuot, Hanukkah now, next week, Purim, all those experiences we had, that's all in preparation for the future. As we said earlier, what happened in the past will happen in the future. That is the bad, but definitely, and for the more so, the good. All the good miracles that we experience is also to prepare us that very soon we will witness those miracles again.
Amen.